still got it going on.
How much we
Still
sell?
great.
Or whatever the
Still
price
great.
will be.
Let's rip through this.
All right, I'd like to call to order the North Canton Regular Council meeting, September 27th. Time is 7 p.m. Opening prayer, Don, Mark? You want to do it? All right, Mark, please rise.
Lord, thank you for bringing us here to represent our community. Thank you for the honor to do that. Please help us listen and learn and help us know what to do as we move this community forward. You bless us with such a beautiful community. Help us have the courage to stand up and continue to make it as good as it can be. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ben, would you please call the roll?
Member Stroya?
Here.
Member Warren?
Here.
Member Foltz?
Here.
Member Peters?
Here.
Member Soretta?
Here.
Member Fonte? Here. And Member Volt? 7 present.
All right, thank you. For your consideration, need a motion and a second to approve as presented. Minutes from September 13th, Committee of the Whole. Minutes from September 13th, City Council.
So, Soretta seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Foltz abstains.
Foltz abstains. Motion approved 6-0. All right. At this time, if you wish to address council, please step forward, state your name and address for the record. And just a friendly reminder, you attract more bees with honey. Larry, you're
Larry,
up.
1127 East Maple Street, North Canton.
Larry.
It was refreshing listening to the young ladies from Walsh speak of the housing blight in North Canton last week. They did a fine job in their presentation and certainly highlighted some points for the city to entertain in the future. So thank you, students. With that in mind, may I offer a brief rebuttal to council remarks of 2 weeks ago who questioned my input as being of no value during my public speaks. Without specifics, without specifics, now you lost me there. Without specifics, it was this public speaker who has several times suggested an income tax credit program for improvements made to the exterior of one's house. 6 years and counting, still nothing. Last week, we saw a slide presentation from council on the city's position with the Hoover District and IGA. First, we already knew the Hoover District and surrounding area has some degree of environmental concern through the documentation and public speaks by Mr. Osborne. Again, in one ear, out the other by council, and then a thank you, and then nothing. 1,412 responses to the citywide survey, and in 2021, only 22 public speaks by 5 individuals. Why is this? Is it because of abuse they take while speaking? Is it because they know council doesn't listen? Or are they just plain fed up with local government in North Canton? It has been going on for some time and continues to flourish in the Wilder Peter era. Secondly, we find the city is basically suspending negotiations, in other words, quitting with IRG pending their show of cash to complete the project started years ago. Again, council, with the exception of Councilman Soretta, basically admitted defeat. Mayor Wilder, city administrator, council, I firmly believe there is an area of opportunity right before your eyes, which has again been suggested by this speaker on public speaks and conversation with city representatives. I'm an 81-year-old U.S. Army veteran, and trust me, when I say more arrogance and conceit flowed from council 2 weeks ago than I've ever seen in my 10 to 12 years of attending council meetings and using public speaks for a better government in this fine community. The councilman, with his comments to Mr. Osborne, along with comments by council president throughout the evening were unprofessional, showing a lack of manhood that I've never seen before. Mr. Osborne presented Panera officials with information that probably saved North Canton government from future public embarrassment. Mr. Osborne did not make any decision for Panera. They did, and probably for the same reason North Canton government gave up free property to build a safety center some 100, 200 yards away. Officials of major businesses are not stupid and can sense being led astray in a heartbeat. It's funny, as it now appears, North Canton representatives did not sense something while purchasing the Kmart property. Really, really shameful for council to try and place blame on a senior North Canton citizen for their failures. My being asked to leave this meeting 2 weeks ago seems to serve its purpose. Knowing if I spoke out of order, I would ask to believe, which I did, then I was asked to leave. The councilman Revolt would quit talking, which he did, mission accomplished. Then from Council Peters, time to go, time to go. You got yard work to go, time to go, get out of here. That's real class, real active class. Mr. Peters, I do more in my yard work in a week than you've done 14 years in the city council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. All right, anyone else wishing to address council? All right. See none, we will move on to old business. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 56-21?
Revolt seconds.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance amending Chapter 135, Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Service, specifically Section 135.03, Personnel of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton to increase the position cap for emergency medical technician/paramedic/firefighters.
All right, we're basically preparing ourselves, moving from a part-time volunteer to a full-time professional group. Pat, anything to add on that one? Pretty much covers it. Any questions from council?
No.
Seeing none, may I have a motion and a second to adopt the second reading ordinance 56-21?
Revolt seconds.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, may I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 56-21? Or no, 57-21, I'm sorry.
Revolt seconds.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance amending Chapter 155, Personnel Regulations, specifically Section 155.03, Hiring Practices of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton to eliminate the requirement that job postings be published in a newspaper.
You know, this is pretty self-explanatory. This is going to save us a bunch of money, and we're really not hitting a target audience with this. So if there's no further comment, may I have a motion and a second to adopt the second reading of 57-21?
Seretta seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to new business. May I have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 59-21?
Seretta seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of North Canton to enter into an agreement with the North Canton Community Improvement Corporation for the conveyance of real property known as Lot 4236 in the city of North Canton, Stark County Parcel 9204669 from the city of North Canton to the North Canton Community Improvement Corporation.
All right, thank you. Chairwoman Warren.
Yeah, this is a lot on East Hill. It's wooded, and does it have the water, the lake as well?
Yeah.
And then was this old Hoover property that we had acquired when we had all that property, and then we had sold off some?
I don't know if the city,
Do you
when
remember?
we got that, I don't know the history of that, sorry.
Okay.
Quite a while.
Do you remember which property that is? I just wondered it for history's sake.
North side.
Property that is on East Hill, that is just west of the home that has
Improved, right. No, I know where it is. I just wondered if it was old Hoover property. I didn't know if that was part of the parcel that was included in it.
To answer your question, the answer is yes.
Okay,
Because Hoover owned everything from South Main Street east to
oh,
Market Avenue.
okay, yeah. Okay, well then that is it. We just do not need it anymore. Mayor, I know you've been down there a number of times.
It's damp.
Yeah, it's very damp. Yeah. Okay, I move to adopt.
Hold seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion and a second to read by title only ordinance 60-21.
Sorry, seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ben?
An ordinance amending Chapter 907 Street Excavations, specifically Section 907.03, Deposit Required of the Codified Ordinances of the City of North Canton to include inspections, costs incurred by the city as costs to be reimbursed by the permit applicant.
Thank you. Chairman Fonte.
We talked about this in the meeting of the whole last week, and this is really to tighten up business for people that work in the city, mainly on the streets, alleys, things like that. And so it would be a performance bond, and we basically agree on what that price would be based on the project. And it's really just to keep them more engaged, and we hold on to the money until we're satisfied, so we're not stuck picking up the pieces of the odds and end work, surveys, whatever that we have to do. We're busy enough. We just need everybody to do their job, step up, and we'll work great with them, give them their money back once everything is satisfactory to our administration or engineering department. Rob, anything else?
No, we were just adding that paragraph D to the existing ordinance that would allow us to recoup any inspection fees. And really, we're going after the major utility companies who come in and lay waste to, a better part of a neighborhood. And then it's a fight to get it restored the way we expect it to be restored here.
So it's not local contractors, it's more the bigger utility companies
Right, or the
like gas,
contractors that
power,
hire, right.
cable.
Is there a fee structure that you're using?
We're working on that with Martin, basically just the hourly rate of the inspector that we would need. If it's something, we wouldn't anticipate 40 hours a week out there like it's
Yeah.
one of our construction projects, but it could be 20.
Okay,
Where we're anticipating, since Safe Build issues the permit for the road opening, that they would then staff it as needed depending on the size project that the utility was proposing.
right.
So it would vary, but we would have that hourly rate then that we could go against. I know currently it's like $77 an hour,
Oh, okay.
plus or minus.
So would this be similar to, do you remember we had a project last year in Eastwoods and somebody had left a lot of material? Would that be something that we would,
Yeah, I remember that was a gas company
Yeah.
project and they just didn't clean up one particular area where their laydown yard was. But we've had quite a few projects in the past few years since I've been here. And Patrick and I together started issuing, making them put up the bond. So at least we had a mechanism to go after the bond.
Right.
And now it becomes just all our phones ringing off the hook. And we're not staffed to run our own projects plus theirs. So this would be a way that we could get someone out there to just keep track and
Yeah.
someone that the residents could go to. What we found is the utilities said, well, we'll have a live person that they can call in with a complaint. Yeah, right. That
Right.
was an 800 number in a foreign country
right?
and hit this key and that key and this key and that key, and then folks got frustrated. So they, of course, call us, and we don't have a nickel in it. So this is
Okay.
a way to, again, another tool in our
Yeah, I
toolbox
like
to
that.
keep them honest and do what we expect. And mostly it's the restoration.
Right. Okay.
Well, anything else?
Nope. I move we pass this first reading.
Second reading.
Sorry, second reading.
First reading. Oh, I'm sorry. First, I'm looking at.
It's not on the-
Asking for a second.
Both second.
Okay, so thank you for
Yes,
first
yeah.
reading, please.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, department reports. Director of Administration.
Okay. Start with the most important one first. So So as you're all aware, there are national shortages of labor. And in some industries, it's more acute than others. One such industry is the trucking or commercial transport industry. So there's a shortage of drivers. This is affecting a lot of different industries. It will come to affect us. This year, leaf recycling program will be affected by such a shortage of commercial drivers available for Kimball to do leaf recycling. So we've been meeting with Kimball for a couple months trying to work out a solution to this that would still allow North Canton residents to recycle their leaves. And we should note that North Canton has a proud tradition of recycling a lot of things. If you happen to read the Stark Tusk Wayne newsletter that just came out, North Canton placed third in the total amount of recyclings. That's, of course, behind Canton and Massillon, but they're significantly bigger than us. So we are really close to, in tonnage, what Canton recycles, so for curbside recycling. In any event, the Kimball does not have enough drivers to put for leaf collection where they would just drive the city, every street, looking for bags of leaves. They do believe that they have enough staff that they could pick up the leaves if they knew where they were. So we've come to agree upon that Kimball will be accepting notices from the residents, calling them up, letting them know, hey, I have leaves to recycle. And they will come get your leaves. So a notice is going out in the water bill. We'll put it out on our website, social media. We'll talk about it here a couple times. I'll send out a little email to all of you with the contact information of the number to call so that if you get calls from constituents and wish to just pass that information along, you'll be able to do that. So the leaf recycling will start at its coming up here in mid-October, and then it completes the week before Thanksgiving. So it's 6 weeks of recycling leaves. Last year we hit it pretty fortunate that the leaves came down during the 6 weeks, but it's a crapshoot.
Now, if we put them out in bags that aren't the paper bags, will they pick them up that way?
No.
Oh,
Leaves have to be in the bags. Paper bags, we provide some through molars.
right.
You get 25 bags as a resident of the city, and then others are available for purchase at various locations. But
So even if you bag them something else?
if you bag them in plastic, they will not recycle that. If you bag
Yes.
them in
Yes.
in
got
paper,
it.
yes.
Right, so they'll pick them up, they just won't recycle them.
Right.
Got it.
Pat, when are the bags available at Moeller's?
Bags will be available at the beginning of October, so we're a little early right now.
I appreciate your work to offer something there. And I think it's, a lot of my neighbors use it, I use it. Thank you. Keep that program in effect.
I'm sure it'll be frustrating, but the alternative is there's no recycling because they just
Yeah.
don't have the drivers.
It's a lot of work for them.
A quick update for Catherine. She's ill, couldn't be here. So on the, excuse me, on Dogwood, the catch basins that had been ordered are installed at Orchard and 7th Street, so we're moving forward with wrapping up the drainage issues over there. The old playground equipment has also been removed. The 7th Street parking lot has been milled, and the excavation for the water line going into the new bathroom, that went down today. As soon as that is complete, they'll be ready for curb and approach, so the cement people will be coming back in. And then we'll be asphalting both Orchard and 7th at the same time. So the weather looks great for this week, so we should make a lot of progress there. Health insurance, We forget about it from time to time, but every year we do this. We're, Gina and I, to get different types of plan design options before us. We expect to have some type of indicator on that by late October as to kind of where we are with our renewal and with other bids. So just giving you a heads up on that, that will be coming forward. And then we're just doing a lot of interviews for some vacancies in employment that we have at the city, police, fire, street, water distribution. All have varying moves in and out of the departments. So we're just doing a lot of interviewing, a lot of people applying, and so we get the list down to 3 or 4 in each, and it takes up a considerable amount of time. And then police and fire, we're opting to meet all candidates separately from the interviews that police and fire are doing.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Thank you, Patrick. Mr. Mayor?
Thanks, President Peters. I just want to bring you up on a major event that I participated in over the weekend at Walsh University. It was the Community Freedom Summit. It was a human trafficking awareness event and fundraiser. I was invited to participate in that. And again, that brought community awareness. We had I'd say about 300 people there for that event. And I want to thank Kathy Gray, the CEO and president of Not for Sale, and One Step at a Time, because human trafficking does occur in our area. We are a major corridor when you think of 77, from Cleveland to Columbus, Canton, east and west to Youngstown. Ohio is the 4th leading state, unfortunately, when it comes to human trafficking, and that also goes for labor trafficking too. So we had about 2.5, 3 hours of community awareness out there. I appreciated them inviting me to be a part of that. And again, just bringing a voice to those that have been silenced by being victims of human trafficking. So again, it's a human story that comes to North Canton, unfortunately, but I think it behooves us all to continue to be aware of our surroundings, be aware of your own personal safety and the safety for your family, your sons and daughters and families and acquaintances too. It's not easy, it's very costly if unfortunately a loved one, let's say your son or daughter, is victimized, not here, but taken away, maybe to Mexico, maybe to another state. It's very hard to try to relocate and bring them back, very expensive. And there's probably less success stories than you want to hear. So just to bring attention to that, it was an honor to be a part of that and to support that in my position as mayor. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. All right, Director of Finance.
Thank you. I have no report, but I just wanted to give an update on the status of the budget preparation for 2022. So we are looking to go back to our original timeline of having Committee of the Whole first presentation on October 18th. First reading of the budget will be October 25th. Second reading November 8th, and third reading November 22nd.
That's great.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Gina. All right, Engineer Graham.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple quick things for you tonight. First off, North Main Street, our striping contractor was actually in this afternoon and then some yesterday as well. So happy to say that's all done with the striping in and looks pretty sharp.
It looks great. I saw it today.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice work.
Good job.
Yep.
Thanks, Rob.
So that's done, and kind of in the same type of repaving project, I got some good news on the grant front. Although we got to wait a while, but that's how far in advance we schedule these things. Through SCATS, our federal funding that Stark County gets, we're going to be awarded $598,000 to repave Apple Grove Northwest. Wow. But it's not till fiscal 27, which is about right. That'd be about 12 years down the road, because it's in pretty good shape now. But that'll take care of Apple Grove from Pittsburgh to North Main in 27.
Hey, Rob, on Whipple, I saw I don't know if that's Stark County.
Yeah.
They're doing that. Are they going to blacktop that, or they just did the curb
No,
gutter.
The county engineer has a project to repave Whipple from the railroad tracks by the Corp line, right by the Ford dealer there, all the way up to just south of Wise.
That's great. I was wondering, because they did all that work. I knew that wasn't us, but thanks for the
They went
update.
and patched a lot of the curb, like the Altman North property. There were a lot of old drive aprons from when before it was Altman North. They took those curb cuts out and put the 6-inch curb and, yeah, I understand they're doing polymer too.
Nice. Lead, follow, or get out of the way, big boy.
So that concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Rob. All right, Council Clerk, none?
No report.
All right. Member Foltz?
No report.
Member Warren?
No, just had a meeting with Patrick and Gina and Matt. I was through the phone. Wasn't feeling well, but just kind of how they're going through the budget process and how much work they've been put into it through all the departments and kind of where it started and where they had to cut and how we're going to kind of do that process. Very similar to last year, taking more of a macro approach and looking at the big picture and not weighing in on each department and how much paper they can buy or, you know, what toner they need, really looking at it from a higher level because they're the experts in their department. But it looks good, and I already saw a lot of sheets, so thanks for all the work you've all put in that already. And we'll start that on the 25th. So we're good to go. 18th.
18, yeah.
Yes. Yes, there it is.
All
That's
right.
it.
Thank you. Member Fonte?
When Larry was talking, it made me think about something I wanted to mention, but I wanted to say something about Hoover's first. So, if you get lemons, you make lemonade, right? So Hoover's had some dumping, created some issues, but it's right in the center of our town. So it's an important, icon for us, however we proceed. But that got me thinking, if you live in a place 24 hours a day, there's a certain standard for safety for the air, right? If it's a business 8 hours a day, it's a different standard. And then if it's just like a playground or outside, it's a different standard. So these things, there's ways to mitigate everything. And it got me thinking about everybody in this room, that the number one leading cause of lung cancer is radon in your home, believe it or not. And it's about $1,000 to mitigate. And I bet you if we did a survey, which we're not going to, of how many people had their house checked for radon, I bet you more than half have not, if not more. And that's the number one leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. Isn't that shocking? And for $1,000, it can be corrected. So that was a public service announcement because Larry kind of prompted me with talking about Panera, because I remember that Panera situation, which we were so hopeful that it would have came, and I believe it is true. Chuck did shoot it down and got them nervous. They didn't want to be bothered with it. But honestly, it's just like the apartments, the ball field, anything we do, we got lemons, let's make lemonade. So like in your house, let's make lemonade, baby. So I just say everything can be mitigated. Sure, there's a cost to it, but in the long run, we turn it into a productive center. And don't forget about Hoover's. It's not just the front end that everybody complains about. I mean, we're going to have, between 300 and 500 jobs on the left side. And did you see the tree trimming today on that project? I mean, I'm telling you right now, Hoover's needs help in the front, which we all know. But remember, there's a bunch going on the sides, and it generates a lot of revenue. But just the only thing I'd say in closing is get your house tested for radon and, protect what you can protect. And then the city's going to work on doing the best they can to get these other things taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you, Dom. Member Revolt?
Mr. Young.
I don't think it's on.
No, it's dead. Here.
Use this one.
Second big area of concern on the community survey, no surprise, is what to do about rentals. So, little summary. We've got about a third of our community are rental properties. 66% are owner-occupied. Rentals have a place in the housing market. I think we all acknowledge that. whether they're apartments or single-family homes that are rented. But I think we're mindful, as are our constituents, that at some point, when an area becomes oversaturated with rentals, and what that magic number is, the authorities say may be as low as a third, rentals may become problematic for single-family neighborhoods. So the question is, how are they problematic? Well, just before we get into this, we have two kinds of rental systems. First are apartments and duplexes. We all know what those are. They're zoned, RMFA, RMFB. And then we have single-family homes that are investor-owned. The challenge that we have with rentals is that they may not be well maintained. And unfortunately, renters may from time to time engage in antisocial behavior. The extreme negatives, when concentrated, may cause owner-occupied home values to stagnate in a given area. So I think this is something that we all need to be mindful of. Our constituents are not crying wolf, they're concerned, and for good reason. Ben? So what can we do with the limited tools that we have? The first is that we can limit multifamily zoning to control the placement of apartments, and we've actually done that. We're not creating new apartment complexes in the city. The second is that with single-family homes that are investor-owned, it's much more complex. And one of the things that we discovered that some communities are doing out of state is they're attempting to limit residential density by street or by block. We'll come back to that in a minute. But what we recognize with this approach is that it's likely to be very, very costly litigation that may carry you all the way to your state Supreme Court. And by costly, I'm talking about $500,000 or more to defend councilmatic action. In addition, the communities where this has been tried, there are unintended consequences in terms of rents, the housing stocks, etc. So one needs to approach this with a great deal of care. But there are tried and true approaches. These are twofold. The first is code enforcement. And the second is policing that antisocial behavior. Flip over. So what have we done? The city has set standards, this council, recently, new property maintenance code. And the administration is working with Safe Build to effectively implement that maintenance code. Post-COVID, at some juncture, the administration will move to revisiting rental registration. We're not there. I think we all acknowledge that it would be important to document the number of rentals and their locations. The other thing that we can do, and this is not widely acknowledged, is that we can encourage demolition and rebuild in problem areas. And we actually did that when we rewrote our CRA ordinance, encouraging demolition and rebuilding. One of the other things that we can do is to look at our zoning. I didn't put this on here, but our zoning for single-family homes, particularly in the R50 areas. We can explore that. And that would allow us to maybe push the side yard limits, extend farther into the back, and come out closer to the curb, as long as we have adequate parking in those driveways. But there are some things that we can do or should be looking at. And then finally, I think we want to look at encouraging property owners to maintain their properties. And maybe there's something that we could do along that score. But as I looked at this, and I had Ben do a little independent research as well, there's no simple panacea on the rental side. It really turns on a few basics and managing your maintenance. You have to understand that when you get into the business of managing maintenance, there's the potential for litigation. So everybody needs to go into it with eyes open. And I'm talking about code enforcement, demolishing buildings, et cetera. And we have some around town that need to come down. So that's it for that part of the community survey. Took a look at it, response, and this is something that perhaps a future council may wish to consider. Mr. Fonte. You may.
Okay, so I've been in the real estate industry for 33 years, worked a lot in this whole arena that we're talking about. And since I'm going to be off council, I guess I should just say something now, right? Why wait? So normally I'm not allowed to talk about it because it could be a conflict, because I do have rentals. But here's the reality. It's just like anything. When I drive through, since I was in charge of streets and alleys, I would always be looking up and down the Devil's Strip, looking all over the place. And Patrick and I and the mayor and some of the council members, we've talked about this. I just scratch my head when I see, why don't people trim their stuff, edge their stuff, like Larry Tripp's house, an 81-year-old. So like what I like to see is I like to see people maintaining their place. And, you know, if we do it by example, which we try to do, then usually, hopefully, someone will catch on. They'll want to do a nicer job. I have an apartment building in Jackson. I just did major renovations to it. Now all the neighbors are cleaning up their places. So sometimes it's infectious, although it does cost a little bit of money, but it's mainly just vision and hard work. So the teeth that you need to add is not necessarily creating more bureaucracy, but it's just like anything. It's not only the landlord, the absentee landlords, it's just like have common courtesy and respect. Just like when we have our own homes, we want to try to keep them in nice shape. And it's a good example. Like we grew up with our moms and dads. They, taught us how to take care of our yards and edge them and take good care of them. So that's the outside facade. So usually if you see the outside looking pretty decent, you can assume the inside's probably in decent shape. And how I know that is because I've been in a lot of these homes. So if you do have a landlord or somebody that's not taking care and the grass is looking terrible, we have teeth in our maintenance codes where we clamp down and give them some warnings, and if not, then we put the squeeze on them because, you know what, they're bringing down the values of the neighborhood. Now, what's in our favor now is the last year and a half, there's no inventory. So if you do a count of what's for sale in the city of North Canton, you'd be shocked to see it's hardly anything. So when we had the big issue was when we came off of 08 through 13, when the market imploded, we had a lot of people that were upside down on their mortgages and they couldn't sell their mortgages, and so they didn't have money to bring to closing, so what they do? They turned into a landlord, which is not the right thing to do. So that's pretty much all cleaned up with the exception of the ones you drive by and see look sloppy. You put the hammer down on getting them to pick up the pace and look respectable or get out of the business. That's my opinion.
Patrick and I have had this conversation. There was a time in North Canton's history when all curb and gutter projects were done by assessment. Doug, you may remember. We didn't do a whole lot by assessment, did we?
No.
But when we started to curb and gutter streets, an interesting thing happened. And I should have Ben add this to the slides. To Dominic's point, people started to clean up their homes. It was a remarkable thing. If you drive through some of the older areas of North Canton where there aren't curb and gutter, particularly down in the 4th Ward, for example, I think we could improve those neighborhoods if we had revived that curb and gutter program. This goes to our discussion about finance. We're chewing up our income tax, and that's how it gets paid for by and large by funding fire EMS. That may be something down the road that, again, a council may wish to reconsider. But it's pretty clear to me that the areas that have been curbed and guttered just look a whole lot better than some that don't. Not all, but you can see it by walking around. So maybe something we need to explore, or somebody needs to explore down the road.
You might want to include sidewalks on that too. More people that walk by your home, you're going to want to keep it nicer.
We need sidewalks, for sure.
So, at any rate, Ben, if you would add that.
Sidewalks. Add sidewalks on that too.
Curb and gutter?
Sidewalks.
Thank you.
Walkability.
Okay, I'm done.
Patrick, look at Pat.
I would like to just add that sometimes we should just acknowledge that our resources are limited in what we can do. And we have to get creative. So one of the things that we did this year with the change in personnel in the management of the street department was, listen to the operations manager who said that his people can do more. There's more things we would like to do, but we were never allowed to do, or people didn't believe in us to do it. We would like to try. So what we did is, through the budget that was already in place, we purchased a piece of equipment that allows our street department to put in curb and gutter rather than contract that out. So we have the equipment to put the forms in, they got to put the 2x4s and all that. We've got the backhoe to dig stuff out. And we have this machine that makes a continuous pour. So you'll note that on East Maple, we just completed 300 linear feet of new curb and gutter that we did in-house.
I love Italians.
And we're formed up to do another 150 linear feet on that same street. So that's a lot, and that gives us so much more bang for the buck because we're not paying somebody else's outside labor, materials. All we're doing is buying the cement. Everything else is handled. With the labor's here. And these guys really take pride in their work, and they want to show what they can do. So we're planning for more of that, to Councilman Revolt's point. And when we get to the budget, there'll be some other things that we could acquire that will give us more bang for our buck and allow us to do more with less.
That's smart. Yeah, that's what a workforce should be doing. That's great.
Good stuff, Patrick. Thank you. Don, Daryl, you done?
I'm good.
Unless we want to talk about economic development. No, we'll save that for the.
Okay, we're good. I wasn't going to say no. All right, Member Serrata?
Nope, no report.
All right, Member Stroya?
Thank you, Larry, for speaking. Good presentation, Daryl. I do think we need to move forward with a lot of that stuff, and I think we need to prioritize that for sure. I attended the alumni event at the Hoover football game that celebrated 100 years of Hoover Vikings football. I think there were over 120 attendees, and it was excellent to watch. And we beat McKinley 24-0, so it was awesome. That's all I have. Bye and support local. What'd you say?
Both of you?
Pulled a muscle just watching one.
Did you go?
No,
I thought originally they told us we were running out of the tunnel, and I was like, that is a really bad idea. But no, that's the way I read it the first time. It's bad.
Jeff running down the tunnel.
That's right, not happening. Okay, final call to council for new business. All right, seeing none, we got the meeting calendar here. Everything is correct on the calendar with the exception of October 18th. There will be no city council meeting. That'll be committee of the whole with the budget handbook introduced. So, and that's it. That concludes our agenda. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Done.